Hey everybody, Douglas Blair Roberts here, the brown skinned human here, and of course, the Super Vader 400 here, back for another retro review. And this time, this is another joint review. This is my review of the entire Street Fighter 2 video game series, the very first Final Fight, the Final Fight, the Final Fight series, and of course, my review of the Street Fighter the animated series. Now, in the past, once again, I haven't reviewed Street Fighter 2 or Final Fight yet, but I've reviewed Street Fighter the animated series, the Street Fighter cartoon, several times on my Doug8798 channel and the Super Vader 400 channel. This will be another review. Once again, I decided to combine it with these two franchises because I've already reviewed the cartoon several times, and the Street Fighter cartoon adapts Street Fighter 2, Final Fight, Street Fighter Alpha, and even the first two, and even the Slam Masters video game, which I may include in the second part narration portion. I haven't decided. I haven't decided yet, but yeah, That's what this cartoon adapts. I decided to save Street Fighter Alpha for another video and review, which I'll do much later. But this right here is the Street Fighter cartoon, Final Fight, and Street Fighter 2. And with that being said, oh yeah, before I start, there will be links in the description box to see my previous reviews for those of you who are visiting my channels for the very first time. With that being said, let's get started right now. This is my world. Hey everybody, it's time for part 2 of my review of the entire Street Fighter II Anthology Final Fight and the Street Fighter II Animated Series review. As you can tell by the title, I'm going to start off with the Street Fighter II video games, then I'm going to move over to Final Fight, then I'm going to finish it off with the Street Fighter Animated Series. While I'm doing this, I will be playing Street Fighter II Champions Edition in the background, which of course you can hear right now. With that being said, let's get started right now. Let's get started right now. Okay, the original Street Fighter II hasn't aged well, but it's still a great game to play today, and it is the godfather of the fighting game genre. Lots of fighting games took the blueprint this game laid down and created, in my opinion, even better stuff than this game. There are 5 versions of this game, but of course I only recognize 2 versions of this game. That's Street Fighter 2 and its update Super Street Fighter 2. Super Street Fighter 2. I'm going to start off with the original Street Fighter 2 since that's the one I played the most. Of course, there are 3 versions. There is Street Fighter 2, there is Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior, Street Fighter 2 Champions Edition, which made the 4 boss characters playable, and Hyper Street Fighter 2, which of course is Street Fighter with faster gameplay. Once again, let's start with Street Fighter 2 The World Warrior. Like I said, story and lore wise, I prefer Super Street Fighter 2. Better graphics, more characters, and a much better storyline, in my opinion. But gameplay wise, I much prefer the original Street Fighter 2. The original Street Fighter 2, that's World Warrior, Champions Edition, and Hyper Fighting, because these games are faster and much easier to play, whereas the updates are much tougher, featuring much tougher AI. One of the many things I like about Street Fighter 2 versus its rival at the time, Mortal Kombat, was that Street Fighter 2 was, first off, they had a much bigger, a much more in-depth fighting system with each of the 8 to 12 characters having their own unique and different fighting styles, ranging from karate, kung fu, military fighting style, sambo slash wrestling, sumo wrestling, jungle style fighting, and of course yoga, Muay Thai, leader, that's Bison's move, and of course boxing, and of course ninjutsu, that's Vega's move. Vega's fighting style. Unlike in Mortal Kombat, where everyone's pretty much fought in the same place and more with only their power levels and special maneuvers and back kicks and uppercuts being different. So everyone has their own unique fighting style. And of course, storytelling. This game is much better. Feels like an actual martial arts tournament with where you select your character, then you go to then you fly to that specific town and you fight each character in each town, because that's the plot of the game. The plot of the game is a world martial arts tournament, held by World Martial Arts International Martial Arts Street Fighting Tournament, held by the villainous in Bison. Several characters have their own motivations for entering the tournament, but as always, the storyline revolves around Ryukin, Guile, and Chun-Li. Those are the 4 people. Ryu enters the tournament to once again seek to test his skills against the strongest fighters in the world for the best fight. Ken is looking to fight his rival and friend Ryu. Chun-Li is looking to fight Bison and defeat him to avenge her deceased father, whom Bison killed. And Guile enters the tournament for a similar reason, to fight, and defeat Bison to avenge his dead friend, Charlie. Charlie. So like I said, everyone has their own motivations for an tournament, but the storyline mostly concerns those characters. Of course, you fight with the tournament, you fight the other the other 7 to 8 warriors. Then you fight the 4 boss characters: Balrog, the boxer, who was named Bison in Japan; Vega, Mike Bison in Japan; Vega, the Spanish bullfighter and ninja; Vega, the only lost character in the game, who is Balrog in the Japanese version; and of course, Sagat the Muay Thai master, the only person to keep his name, who also has an important role in this game, as he wants to, in the original version, wants to avenge his loss to Ryu. Then of course, you got Bison, the main antagonist of the game, Major Bison, who is Vega in Japan, in Japan, who seeks Ryu and Ken for their fighting abilities, and as a new host for his psycho power, because it's so powerful that his body can't obtain it, and his soul, of course, is eternal. So no matter how many times Bison is destroyed, as long as his soul is left intact, he will always return with a stronger body. So that is Street Fighter. That is the original version of Street Fighter 2. Like I said, other things about this game. I like all the stages and music, with my favorite themes being Ryukin, Giles, Zangief's, and of course Bison's themes. Those are my favorite. My favorite stages are Ryukin's, Guile, Sagat Vega's, and of course Bison and Balrog's stage, followed by Honda's. Those are my favorite battle stages in the game. So like I said, there are 3 versions of Street Fighter. There's of the original Street Fighter 2, but like I said, I only recognize one. There's Street Fighter 2, the World Warrior, with the original 8 characters: Ryukin, Guile, Chun-Li, Dhalsim, E Honda, Zangief, and Blanka. Then there's Champions Edition, which makes the 4 boss characters playable. That's Sagat, Vega, Balrog, and Bison. It makes those 4 playable. Then there's Hyper Fighting, which is the same thing as Champions Edition, only with different color costumes, and of course, faster gameplay. Another thing I have to talk about is the character endings. I'll talk about this later. So yeah, that was the original Street Fighter 2. Now let's move on to the other version of Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2, which, according to Wikipedia, I just added this to my scripted review of this. According to Wikipedia, this is the oldest fighting game that is still played at competitive tournament scenes today. So yeah, Super Street Fighter 2. This game is the same as the previous Street Fighter 2, except it features redrawn backgrounds, updated graphics and hardware, redrawn portraits, better sound quality, a new announcer, and of course, 4 new challengers in Cammy, a British spy; Fei Long, a Hong Kong action martial arts star modeled after Bruce Lee; DJ, a Jamaican kickboxer modeled after martial artist Billy Blanks; and of course, T-Hawk, a Native American Indian-based warrior with a residence in Mexico who also seeks vengeance against Bison. DJ seeks to enter the tournament to find new dance moves for his songs, something like that. Fei Long is just like Ryu again, except he's an actor. He's an actor who's looking for a real fight. And of course you got Cammy, the most popular and complex of the two, who is a former brainwashed doll for Bison, affiliated with a special operative team called Delta Red, something like that. So yeah, those are the four new challengers. This game features even faster gameplay than the previous one. DJ's, Fei Long's, and Cammy's endings are my favorites, alongside Ryu, King's, Chun-Li's, and Sagat's, which of course for the most part, the most canon to the series. And of course, Fei Long, DJ, and Cammy also have, and T-Hawk have also battle stages, which are my favorites, alongside the other 6 to 7 battle stages I named from the previous version. Then of course you got the update. You got the small update to this game called Street Fighter 2, Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo, the Grand Master, which this game features. First off, it features super combos, something that will become hugely popular in later versions of Street Fighter and fighting games in general. Then of course, what else is after that? Oh yes, and one thing, I've never been able to do this. I had to watch a YouTube video, a YouTube playthrough to see how this was done. If you play this hard game, this game is even harder than the previous versions. If you play this hard game without losing any rounds, out of nowhere, a secret character named Akuma, who will become hugely popular in future installments of Street Fighter, will come out of nowhere and obliterate Bison, and he will be your final opponent in the game. He is also playable via secret code. There's also something I forgot to mention in my script, but I'm gonna add it here. There's also, of course, a tournament mode feature tournament mode where you can select. There's also a tournament mode versus playing the regular arcade tournament mode, so that's good. That's another feature that will become popular in a lot of fighting games. Like I said, Street Fighter, for most of the stuff, Street Fighter is the granddaddy. Street Fighter 2 is the granddaddy of the fighting game genre. Lots of innovations were made with these two video games right here that would be seen in future fighting games and other street fighting games. So yeah, that was my review of Super Street Fighter 2. Oh yeah, let's talk more about the storyline before I move on to Final Fight. Also, storyline, this records several things about the original Street Fighter 2, such as Sagat. They would later record this in the alpha version, but Sagat, he initially wanted to kill Ryu for he originally not only wanted to defeat, but wanted to kill Ryu for defeating him in Street Fighter 1. Now, he just wants a friendlier rematch with Ryu. Bison, one of the main reasons he has a weaker body in this game versus the alpha version is because he absorbed the power of Rose. The skinnier Bison is actually my favorite version of Bison. Sorry about that. That was a pop-up on my computer. Hold on for a moment. Yeah, sorry about that. That's my dog. Yeah, so like I was saying, yeah, the skinnier Bison is my favorite version of Bison, and that's why he's skinny. He absorbed the power He absorbed the power of rules, and that weakened him, allowed him to be a victim of Akuma's fatality. Yeah, Akuma is so violent that he's the only Street Fighter character with a fatality. There's no killing in Street Fighter. There's only killing in the story mode, in the cutscenes and story portion of the game, but not the actual gameplay. But Akuma is so violent, he's the only one with an actual kill move, and that is the Shingatsu no Hado, a move where he teleports towards you and attacks you with multiple moves. The only way to survive the technique in storyline is to empty your soul and remove yourself of all sin, because Shingatsu no Hado uses the very sin and evil in you to attack you. So, yeah, and that's Akuma. He goes around to find powerful opponents to fight and kill. If the person is weak or sick or injured, he will call off the fight or refuse to kill them. He also kills people who are arrogant and dishonorable, like Bison. So, yeah, that's Street Fighter. That's Street Fighter 2. Now it's time for Final Fight, which Final Fight was initially envisioned as a sequel to the original Street Fighter, but at the last minute, they decided to create a new game. And you can tell because the two of the main characters of the game, Guy and Cody, look like updated versions of Ryu and Ken, but they instead made a completely new game. First off, instead of a fighter, this is an action adventure side-scrolling beat 'em up game, and this beat 'em up game like Double Dragon, the godfather of the beat 'em up genre, beat 'em up beat 'em up genre. This game has used select This game features what was the plot? What was the plot to this game? So yeah, hold on. What was the plot to this game? Let me pull it up again. Yeah. Um oh yeah, man, now I remember. Remember Mike Hager eliminated Mike Hager when he was elected mayor. Mike Hager, he is one of the protagonists from the video games, from the Capcom game Slam Masters. Slam Masters. He is much older and retired from wrestling. He is the mayor of the fictitious Metro City. He has eliminated most of the crime in Metro City, but one crime organization is tenacious and refuses to go away, and that is the Mad Gear Gang. They kidnap um Mike Hager's daughter Jessica, and of course one of the main character who was the main character Cody's girlfriend, and and um and so Hager enlists the help of Guy enlists the help of Guy and Cody to stop Mad Gear in their criminal plans from ruining Metro City in the video game. You select three characters, Guy, Cody, and Hager, with of course Cody being the strongest and most powerful of the three characters. I like all three characters, with Cody being the one I play the most. When you beat the game, you go through the game and you encounter lots of memorable characters. The most memorable being Roland Toe, a army an operative with a bunch of bombs, and of course Saddam, an American Japanese wannabe ninja who fights with two hook knives, two swords, actually two katanas, and in story mode, Fight Lord is defeated by Guy. Both of these characters would later reappear in the Street Fighter Alpha series. Other memorable characters include a female with a whip named Poison, and a wrestler dude named Andorra, who of course is modeled after Andre the Giant, and is a prototype to the very popular Hugo character in Street, who will become hugely popular in Street Fighter 3. Street Fighter 3. You also fight a crooked cop in this game whose name I can't remember at the moment. Then the final boss of this game is a guy is a guy in a wheelchair with a pistol named Belger. Belger. When you defeat him, you kill him by knocking him out of his wheelchair and out of a window where he falls to his death. And after that, Cody has a friendly reunion with Guy, Hager, and of course Jessica, and the newly rescued Jessica, and the game ends with them living happily ever after. I like how this storyline, this video game, ties right into the Street Fighter franchises. While Ryu and Ken are fighting in the tournament, these guys are busting butt, kicking so much butt and ass in Metro City. While all this is going down, and these characters will later reappear in the Alpha and Street Fighter 4 versions of the Street Fighter series, with of course Cody being framed for various crimes by the Mad Gear Gang and sent to prison and becomes something of an anti-hero in Street Fighter, where he escapes prison and goes to fight various people. And by Street Fighter 5 is the new mayor of Metro City. So yeah, that was Final Fight. Well, like I said, this is it for the Final Fight video games. I was thinking about doing the others, but like I said, but the Street Fighter cartoon, which I'm going to talk about next, which is a tie-in with this review right here. They only adapted the Street Fighter 2 and Final Fight games with elements of the first two Alpha games. I decided to save Alpha for another joint review similar to this. But right here, this has been my review of Street Fighter 2 and Alpha. Now it's time for the Street Fighter animated the Street Fighter 2 animated series. Street Fighter 2 animated series. Okay, let me find my placement on the on my long script that I wrote for this that I typed for this review right here. I decided to type scripts to make some of these reviews faster. Um, so yes, like I said, the next series is Street Fighter 2, the animated series. Found it. Like I said, the Street Fighter 2 animated series is one of my all-time favorite cartoons, and I still to this day consider it one of the best cartoons of all time. It's criminally underrated. This cartoon has the perfect balance of action, comedy, adventure, and drama. And like I said, I consider it one of the best of all time. And it just doesn't get its due. This cartoon is a cross between Marvel, DC Animation, G.I. Joe, Japanese Animation, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Alpha 1 and 2, Final Fight, and of course the X-Men cartoon. I think this cartoon shares some of the same writers as the X-Men cartoon. This cartoon is loosely based on Street Fighter 2. Like I said, this cartoon is loosely based on Street Fighter 2 with elements from the first two Alpha games, and of course Final Fight, which of course Street Fighter Alpha 1 and 2 were released at the time this series ran from 1995 to 1997. Everyone looks like they're Street Fighter 2 Alpha and Final Fight counterparts, and it has every character from those games, like Ryu, Ken, Guile, Chun-Li, Blanka, Honda, Zangief, Bison, Sagat, Balrog, and Vega from Street Fighter 2. Then Cammy, Fei Long, DJ, T-Hawk, and Akuma from the Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo series. Then Rose, Sakura, Saddam, Aiden, Birdie, Mike Hager, Guy, Cody from Street Fighter Alpha 1, 2, and of course, Final Fight. This series has every character from those Street Fighter games except for Charlie, who of course in this Street Fighter universe is Blanka. They're both one and the same, but Blanka's human form does have the same outfit as Charlie. Um, Charlie, of course, this cartoon also uses elements from the movie universe, such as, like I said, Blanka and Charlie being one person, but it has game elements too. And of course, this cartoon is also missing Dan Hibiki, who, according to who I don't think was created at the time this show was running. This series also featured Captain Sawada, who was a replacement for Fei Long in the live action film. In this series, with a brand new role where he is something of a new role where he is something of a rival to Guile in this show. This cartoon borrowed elements from both the live action movie and the games. And in my opinion, this cartoon actually improved upon elements from the live action film, like switching Balrog and DJ's allegiances. Balrog is back with Shadaloo, and DJ is back with the good guys, the Street Fighters. The Street Fighters, Street Fighters, Street Fighters. Ryu is back to feuding with Sagat, and Cammy and T-Hawk are both included in the storylines. Are both included in this game with both of their video game storylines left intact. Whereas in the movies, they were both just watered down British and Native American versions of Guile. So yeah, Ryu, of course, I mentioned he was feuding with Sagat. In my opinion, Ken, who is somewhat different here in this cartoon, is better here than he was in the games. In this series, he defeated Akuma and has an even larger role in the series than he did in the games. However, like the 1994 live action film, Guile is back to being the main character, much to the dismay of several people. But it's something I never really had much of a problem with. And of course, and of course, but Ken and Ryu and the other characters still have big and important roles in this series. So that's why I still like it, despite the fact that Guile is what's his name. Guile is what's his name. The plot of this particular Street Fighter, the plot of this particular adaptation of Street Fighter is Guile leads an underground team of martial artists and warriors called the Street Fighters, called Street Fighter against the criminal forces of General M. Bison, Vega, Sagat, and of course the Enzazuki master Akuma. They also fought several other specifically created villains for this cartoon. And in one episode, like I said, they square off with the Mad Gear Gang, the main antagonist of the Final Fight series. So um, yeah. Like I said before, it's G.I. Joe meets Marvel's X-Men, Avengers, Japanese animation, Street Fighter 2, the animated film. Those are what you get when you combine all those things together. This is the cartoon you get. The first season of the show has original created stories with the Street Fighter characters involved. The second season, which in my opinion is vastly superior to season one, features more storylines from the games, such as Ryu's rivalry with Sagat, Ryu and Ken's battles with Akuma, um, the final fight episode where Ryu and Ken team up with Guy and Cody to infiltrate the Mad Gear Gang and rescue Jessica and defeat Belger, and of course defeat Belger and defeat Belger. Episodes 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17, 18, 21, 22, 24, 25, and 26 are, in my opinion, the best episodes of the series, with episodes 9 and 19 being the worst episodes of the series because they do not feature the other Street Fighter characters. They only feature Vega and Blanca. Who wants to watch a Street Fighter cartoon where Vega and, of course, Blanca are the main characters and the other Street Fighters are not around? They weren't bad, but who wants to watch an episode like that? I'm going to talk about the memorable episodes and moments. Another thing I like about this cartoon versus other adaptations is that it features the International Street Fighting Tournament from the games. The other two animes and live action film just feature just feature a lot of street fighting. Just feature a lot of street fighting when the street fighters aren't saving the world or fighting crime, they're participating in the Street Fighter tournament. In episode 1, before Gao's mission, he defeats a random Street Fighter in a local Street Fighter tournament match. In episode 8, the most memorable episode of the series, Gao, Chun-Li, Blanca defeat Ken, Ryu, and a bunch of other Street Fighters in another international Street Fighters tournament before Bison executes his plan, which was the plot of the episode. The other Street Fighters were Aiden. The other unnamed Street Fighters were Aiden, Birdie, and Saddam, with Guy, Cody, and Jessica watching from the audience. In the final fight episode, Ken and Ryu are watching Guy fight in an Street Fighter tournament. Another thing this cartoon is most remembered for is its comedy and extreme camp value. There are a lot of cheesy, unintentional, hilarious, and stupid moments in this cartoon, which is part of the fun. And just like the Mortal Kombat cartoon, this cartoon was entertaining as a kid and is way better as an adult and way better than I gave it credit for. I already mentioned those cheesy moments in previous reviews of this cartoon. I always watch before I view the entire series like 2 to 4 years ago. I always watched um um I think his name is the Wish Watcher. He does a series called Street Fighter or or insert franchise here, Stupidity, or some other goofy name where he shows all of the ridiculous and funny moments from these cartoons. I used to always watch that and always used to think, you still love this cartoon. We used to think of it as just camp value. Now, after watching it with Steam, I think this cartoon is way better than I gave it credit for. It's one of those cartoons where it's good as a kid, but it's even better as an adult. Other cool and memorable moments include episode 13, where fierce rivals and enemies, Guile and Bison, have to put their differences aside to battle Akuma, who challenged both of them. Then episode 17, the world's greatest warrior, where Ryu and Ken fight Akuma, and Ken actually defeats Akuma. This episode then episode 21, which features the character Rose from the Alpha series, looking to eliminate all evil in the world, and does this by kidnapping Ken and Blanca, who she thinks are evil, by putting them against each other. Then she teams up with both of them to combat Bison, the real threat. Then episode then episode 21, which features Ryu, Sagat, and Sakura. In this episode, Ryu challenges Sagat and defeats him and gives him an iconic scar defeats him and gives him an iconic scar. However, his defeat is hilarious and kind of gay compared to what it was in the video games and anime. But I'm glad they had it here, and it was so hilarious. But I've already mentioned that in the review, two previous reviews of this, so I'll talk about that in the video portion of this view, which I'm going to do later, much later. Then the final two episodes of the series. First, episode 25, where Ryu and Ken team up with the final fight cast of Guy, Cody, and Mike Hager to infiltrate the Mega Gang and rescue Jessica. Then when Gao teams up with Chun-Li, Cammy, Zangief, and Sagat to finally defeat Bison once and for all, and Bison is accidentally sucked into his computer and seemingly destroyed once and for all. And the episode ends with Cammy ashamed of her past, leaving the team, leaving the team, leaving the team, and Guile calling the truce. Guile celebrating with Chun-Li and Cammy and calling a truce with Zangief and Sagat, who Sagat decided to join the Street Fighters after he learned that Bison in this episode decided decided to doom and destroy the world instead of ruling it. Where he in this series he was also taking orders from a higher power called Nakali, something like that. So 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 yeah, and that ends Street Fighter. Like I said, Street Fighter, I didn't say this. Like I said in previous reviews, Street Fighter was canceled after 26 episodes in 2 seasons in 1997 when USA decided to get rid of its cartoon block. Thus, I wish they would continue and had another season where they would have adapted the Street Fighter 3 cast, and of course the Street Fighter 3 cast with Urian, Yun, Yang, and of course Alex from the Street Fighter 3 series. Then, of course, I wish they would have adapted Street Fighter Alpha 3, where Cody goes to jail, where Cody of course goes to jail, and of course yeah. Now, this cartoon would have probably been long canceled by the time Street Fighter 4, so they probably would not have got a chance to adapt Street Fighter 4, but a Street Fighter 4 adaptation in this cartoon would have been awesome too. But like I said, the show, unless it would have had one of those Ninja Turtles or Simpsons like run, I'm pretty sure this show would have been canceled by then, even if it did run its course. But if they did, it would have been cool if they adapted Street Fighter 4 with Seth, and with Seth. So yeah, I wish the series would have lasted longer. Also, so they would have had that crossover episode with Mortal Kombat, Defenders of the Realm, Savage Dragon, and of course Wing Commander. Well, that's it for Street Fighter for now. There are some here are some final thoughts on this cartoon before I get out of here. The Street Fighter cartoon, production-wise, in my opinion, was inferior to its Mega Man, Mortal Kombat, and Double Dragon counterparts, animation-wise. But in my opinion, it was a superior adaptation to both of those cartoons. And unlike both of those cartoons, everything for the most part in this cartoon was resolved. That's one thing this cartoon has on both of those. Well, that's it for the Street Fighter cartoon. That's it for the Street Fighter cartoon right now. Much later in the future, I'll do a longer video version where I'll go even more in depth with the characters and everything and the difference between this adaptation and the video game. Well, right now, I am finished for now. It's time to hit my music.